But let's get to the brotherly shove, which I think is way more enticing than saying tush push. I believe it should be banned based on the rules of the game now, because if you're not allowed to pull a player in, you certainly should not be able to push a player forward. What is your view, broad brush, on this particular issue?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, and Roger Goodell sort of talked about this in his, wrap up from the league meetings down there in West at the Breakers. He said that it doesn't need any change that you make to this rule, and it used to be any pushing or pulling. I think it was 2004 when they changed it, and it sort of became modified where you could push.
Right.
And oddly enough, it really wasn't until Philadelphia figured out that Jalen Hurts is one of the 5 best short yardage running backs in the entire NFL, to the point that Saquon Barkley wouldn't even get carries, right? on the 1 yard line. I mean, that's insane when you think about it. I mean, the best running back in football, arguably, maybe the second best, power runner behind Derrick Henry, isn't getting the carries at the 1 yard line because Jalen Hurts is so effective as a short yardage runner. Philadelphia implemented that, and then you start to see a lot of other teams using variations of it, whether it was Josh Allen and the Bills, who were extremely effective with it last year. To me, I think if you're going to make a change, and I know that when we say player safety, people can roll their eyes and whatnot, and that's perfectly fine because the league for years. Yeah, the league for years, we had you got jacked up on segments on ESPN before Monday Night Football. But I mean, if you make the change, I don't think you should make the change for competitive reasons, right? I don't think you should say the Eagles are so good at this that we want to outlaw it. And I tend to think that the Packers in particular, with their, it was Mark Murphy who mentioned this in the offseason, they lose to the Eagles in the playoffs. They're the ones who put forward this rule to ban the tush push. It feels like sour grapes to me from the Packers, who are just don't like that the Eagles have this on-field advantage that comes with having Jalen Hurts and comes with doing the tush push, and that they want to have it changed. So I don't like the idea of changing it just because one team is really good at it or a couple of teams are better at doing it. And it's then go draft a quarterback who's huge. Yeah. I don't know. Go get Joe Milton and plug him in, and maybe the Cowboys will do it this year. But if you're going to do it for player safety, and there are legitimate reasons why you should do it and data that backs up those player safety concerns, then I'm okay with it. But I just worry that they're going to do it. And I don't love the tush push, and I don't love that nonsense in the playoff game, the NFC title game. But I just worry that they would make the change simply out of what is perceived as a competitive imbalance that is nothing but the fault of the other teams that don't do it.
Yeah, on top of the fact that only 2 teams in the National Football League last year tried to run that play more than 5 times, Philadelphia and Buffalo. Nobody. So it's not even a play for 30 of the other NFL teams, and we're getting rid of a play that has essentially been perfected by one team. I agree. You and I agree. It should not be.
I would just say, too, the teams that are complaining about it, like you say, they're not, these teams, they're not these teams that are necessarily even doing it.
Right.
Are you worried about the player safety on your side of the ball? Because I tend to think that the player safety issues come from the guys who are diving into the pile from the offensive side of the ball, not the other way around. So it's are you worried about your guys getting hurt? If not, then why exactly are you complaining about this? Because it sounds like a competitive thing.
And that would be it shouldn't be banned for any competitive reason. But I do think, and Bart Scott on ESPN tried to make this distinction yesterday, and I have talked about it for a while about you can't pull a player, so why can you push a player? But if there's an imbalance that puts the defense at a disadvantage, then I am on board with getting rid of the play. And this is the way I would look at it anyway. Each player should be you should have to do it on your own. You already have blocking. Nobody is asking Jalen Hurts to get into the end zone without blockers. But you should do it through your own strength, like not lining up somebody behind you who's just forcing you forward. And that to me is where I do think it provides an unfair advantage. I just think the players you should be on your own strength. I can't hurl you into the end zone, right? That's illegal. But I don't see the difference. But whatever.
I mean, if you can pick up Jalen Hurts and launch him into the end zone, by all means, all champagne.
Yeah, get two really big guys, strong guys, and like catapult him, like you're throwing him over the castle wall, to invade and maybe steal back the fair maiden. So, do you think it's going to be banned? You think they're going to vote on it in May? I think Goodell wants it to be banned. I don't buy the player safety issue. They can say what they want, but because if it was really about player safety, we wouldn't be playing 17 and soon to be 18 games. They don't really care about player safety.
The player safety is a phrase that is thrown around for after they got sued for concussion purposes. If I for like $1 billion, it hadn't settled for like $1 billion. If I had to guess, I would say, generally when they table something like this, Nick Sirianni had a really good point too. He's like, well, all I know is that Shane Steichen, Jonathan Gannon, and he's like, and Kellen Moore better not have their teams voting against this because they got head coaching jobs thanks to the tush push, which is a pretty good point. So like if you have that sort of groundswell from teams who have head coaches that are going to talk to the GMs, talk to the owners, influence the vote, work with the competition committee, they're going to get feedback from around the league. I would generally speaking, I think when you table something in the March-April meeting, and then it gets pushed to May, it means there's largely not enough. Right. It's basically saying, all right, look, Green Bay, if you think you can drum up the support for this, go out and do it. Unfortunately, you don't really have an owner. You got a guy who's the team president because they're publicly owned. He's retiring after the season anyway, and he's the guy belly aching about it. So if I had to guess, I would say they will not ban it, and we'll have another season of the tush push. Now, the second we have something where somebody actually does get hurt, and I don't think, as far as I know, they don't have any documented injury history or injury data from the tush pushes, and that's what would influence it. Somebody gets hurt, maybe that completely changes, but I would guess they will not outlaw the tush push or brotherly shove.
Will Brinson, senior NFL writer, CBSSports.com, and here we get to your favorite thing about professional football. And actually, I'm not sure.
Gang, baby.
You knew. See, this is where we're like Aho and Jarvis. We share a brain. All right, so here's the thing that they're going to use Hawkeye technology to determine not where the ball is spotted. They're going to use Hawkeye technology to determine the first down line, right? But they're still going to have a chain gang. So I can't figure out why we're still going to have, we'll just be conservative here, upper middle-aged men holding 2 sticks and exactly 10 yards of chain link. Why we're still having these people on the field, since it is at best a hazard. Why are they still there?
Well, first of all, the Winston-Salem Open can tell you if the 590th ranked tennis player in the world it hits a ball a millimeter out of bounds or on the line. And the NFL's like, I don't know. Let's get Gene Steratore out there with his index card and just figure out.
It's unbelievable.
3 blind mice. Yeah. And so, of course, it's ridiculous. I think they're taking the right step here by moving towards the Hawkeye technology permanently. If you look at how they handled replay review and the replay assist stuff that they did during the playoffs, and then implemented essentially full time. So this is just how the NFL does things, and they've gotten a little bit better about it in terms of the rollout process over the last probably 5 years. but they still take their time, and they always do these things with technology that are big changes over a gradual span. Like, again, the replay assist stuff, it came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
In the Bengals-Raiders wildcard game on Thursday night, all of a sudden the officials were like, according to, we've actually changed the ruling. Everyone was like, wait, what? And then Mike Tirico pipes in, he's like, actually, this is replay assist. The NFL implemented it and told us about it, but didn't tell anyone else about it, and they could just change calls. And it's like, okay, that's an insane thing to do, even though it makes total sense. It's just insane how you're rolling it out. Then they proceed to do it in more primetime games. They clearly liked how it worked. And then this past year, you saw it basically across the board in all games. They finally decided, as a $14 billion industry, to have guys from the command center watching all the football games and saying, this is a bad ruling by the refs, let's change this and overturn it. And so I think you're going to see that with the Hawkeye stuff, where they don't want this wholesale change. They're, for whatever reason, from a PR perspective, an optics perspective, a belief of the demographics who are watching it, they don't want to implement these wholesale changes overnight when it comes to technology stuff. And so they do this gradual rollout, which is why they're acting like, well, we're just going to do it a little bit. And I'll guarantee you that by the 2026 season, we have probably full-time Hawkeye stuff for all of these things, spotting the ball, et cetera. I mean, they can tell you within 30 seconds of the touchdown happening how fast Tyreek Hill was running into the end zone and his maximum speed while carrying the football, because they have microchips on everything and everywhere inside the football. They'll have this figured out. They'll have it implemented by 2026. But just the way the NFL works, they like to roll these things out gradually.
Yeah, and honestly, we shouldn't have the on-field officials spotting the ball either. It should be automatically spotted. A little laser light. This is where the ball got to. Done, because bad spots. Because you can't. It's so hard to have to challenge a bad spot and have it be overturned. It is so difficult to do that. They're better off doing it electronically.
I'd like to see them do something along the lines of, okay, if we're going to challenge a spot, let's go to Hawkeye. Let's not go to this video replay.
Right. Good point.
I don't mind if you want to keep spotting the ball with officials.
I do.
If it's like I do too. I do too. I don't know if I love the idea of our robot overlords taking hold of things completely right now.
I'm with you.
If they want to keep doing things the way that they're doing, that's fine. But in these games where, we saw the Chiefs-Bills game, I mean, there's a really good chance that Josh Allen got that first down.
Yes.
And that if you'd use Hawkeye, if you'd use the freaking microchips in your $14 billion industry to decipher where the ball was, that the Bills go to the Super Bowl and maybe Buffalo wins the Super Bowl. Who knows? So I think, for me, it's like when the games are being decided by these, where the ball is being spotted by these old men 30 yards away who are being asked to juggle 75 different things at once, take something else off their plate. The job is hard enough as it is.
I'm with you. By the way, the NFL doing this, it's a very Major League Baseball way that they're doing this. But in terms of the linear elements of sports, it's yes or no. There's no art here. It's not, to me, it's not a direct, we have video assist for home plate umpiring now in Major League Baseball. You can challenge a call, right? So I'm on board with that, except I believe that pitching is an art form. I don't believe it's 100% linear. I know I'm going to get a debate from a lot of people about that, and I hear you. I don't know that you're wrong, but maybe it's just the romanticization of what I view pitching as, because to me pitching is about.
But there's nothing artful about painting if you're diving for a first down, you want to check that. But it's simply a line,
or it isn't. It just is, or it isn't. That is just the fundamental thing for me. All right, real quick, Geno Smith. What?
I mean,
what?
Look, Pete Carroll loves him some Geno Smith.
All right, good.
And there's a lot of analytical people, analytics heavy folks in the NFL who love Geno Smith too. I mean, I think you can watch a lot of Geno Smith tape and see some really good things that he does. You also see some really bad things that he does. But I mean, Pete Carroll, you brought him in to replace Russell Wilson. He loved the attitude he brings, the compete mantra he brings. He thinks he's got some good football left.
Sure.
And, look, the Raiders are the fourth best team in that division, no matter who they bring in or who they draft or who's their head coach or how many Super Bowl rings Tom Brady has if he's the owner, right? So, I'm here for Pete Carroll making the Raiders respectable again, and it's a very low bar. But the way to make the Raiders respectable, the way to sort of get them to, if you got to move from the bottom tier to this middle tier and challenge in the division, and I think you see it from Pete Carroll. He's doing it by trying to bring in as many of his guys as he can to sort of replicate. I mean, look, he's going to try and grind his way to 9-8 and get sneak in as a fourth wild card from the same division. I don't know if it'll happen, but that's basically the premise of this.
And it's a lot of money guaranteed. Will Brinson, senior NFL writer, CBSSports.com, at Will Brinson on Twitter. I will talk to you later, my friend.
All right, buddy. See you, man.